Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of A Playmaker's View. I'm your host, Jamie Burdish. First, I would like to apologize for a little bit of a delay on these episodes. I have been super busy with everything going on. Got an internship, I'm playing baseball. Life kind of got crazy over the past month or so I do apologize for that. But today, I have a really cool guest. I'm really excited to interview him. His name is Drew Clark. He has a book for himself, and he's a baseball player. So I hope that after this episode, you guys give him a chance to, listen to his story, maybe even buy his book and hear more about where he's coming from. And he's got a lot of great lessons that I wanted to share with you all. But I'm really excited to get this going. He's a great guy. Met him over social media. Kind of funny how that works, but really excited. Hope you guys enjoy. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, so thanks again, guys, for joining and tuning into A Playmaker's View. I'm here with Drew. So as always, I want to start off by, Drew, allowing you to introduce yourself to the viewers, kind of about your backstory, who you are, and what you're doing right now.
All right. What's up, guys? My name is Drew Clark. I'm a collegiate baseball player. I'm a right-handed pitcher. Uh, I just underwent Tommy John surgery about 11 months ago. So right now I'm rehabbing from TJ down in Florida. I recently just became a self-published author as well. So right now I'm just a ball player and an author. So living it up.
Yeah. So how long has the game of baseball kind of been in your life, and how do you think that's impacted you?
So the game of baseball I've been playing since I was 2.5. I started T-ball at the YMCA back in Omaha. And I think it's impacted me in some good ways and some bad ways, to be honest. I've had a lot of failures, but I've also had some good success, but I think it's helped me grow up as a person more than anything. And I think that's the bigger picture of the game.
Right, yeah. So if you were to choose one memory throughout your whole career, because you've been playing it for quite a long time, if you were to choose one of those memories, what would you choose to share with these viewers, and why would that be?
I think the easy answer would be to say, playing at the JUCO World Series twice, which I was lucky enough to do. But the honest answer, I think, is, tearing my UCL. I think just because it opened so many doors and opportunities. I've met a lot of great people, and I've moved to a really nice place, and I think it'll take me a lot further in life. It was a hard time to go through, but I think in the end, it's going to be probably the biggest blessing in my career.
Yeah, it's always important to have those lessons, and sometimes the low parts in life are the what kind of brings you up to a better level of yourself in your life. Before we kind of get into your book, and I wanted to talk a lot about that for the portion of this podcast, but I have a few random questions, just kind of spice it up a little bit. Growing up, who did you
Sure.
idolize, whether that be on the baseball field or a different sport? But who would you consider your biggest role model throughout your whole entire life?
I really idolize my dad just because he set a really good example from a young age. Of how to treat people, how to respect people, and just how to play the game the right way. But from an athletic standpoint, I really enjoyed watching Brett Gardner when I was younger. The dude was just a gamer, and I think he played the game hard and he played the game the right way and he was respectful. And I think as a kid, it really set like a good foundation for me to learn how to play the game the right way.
Yeah. So, from today's standpoint, obviously, the game has changed quite a bit from when we were younger. But who do you think is your favorite player? As if it were to stand right today, who would you say you like watching?
I'm definitely a huge Joe Kelly fan.
All right.
I've got a lot of comparisons, from a look standpoint. I don't know what it is, but I enjoy watching Joe Kelly just the way he competes and the way he has fun with the game too. I'm a huge Joe Kelly fan.
Yeah, he's definitely changing the game. He's got a lot of fire to him. So I want to ask
Oh
you,
yeah,
get into this book that you have. Obviously, I purchased it. It's right here. I want to
thank
get
you,
into it a little
thank you.
bit. I'm enjoying reading it so far and diving into the mental side of being an athlete. So first, I want to ask you, what sparked this idea of being an author? What made you want to, sit down and write this book?
I think there was a lot that went into it. For a long time, I've always liked expressing myself. Uh, I'm a huge fan of music, and unfortunately, I'm not a very good singer, so that definitely wasn't an option for me. But I always thought I was okay with words, and saying how I felt. And so, some days I would just sit down and I'd write out how I was feeling. I got in this routine of journaling and figuring out what made me happy. And it's a simple concept. Just explain how you feel. And it was hard. I found out the hard way, how to get into it. But I wanted to make an outlet for people, just to get things off their chest if they weren't ready to do it in front of someone. I really just wanted people to feel comfortable with themselves, especially athletes because I know how difficult it can be. Um, so in the big picture, I think I just wanted to help other people, and especially with surgery and having a decent amount of free time after I'm done rehabbing throughout the day. Um, I wanted to do something beneficial in my free time and not just sit around. Um, so I really think I just had a lot of free time and I had an inspiration to help others, which I really think is the two main points.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the book is called Bigger Than the Game, An Athlete's Guide to Mental Health. So what is that quote or that saying, bigger than the game? What does that mean to you? Can you dive in a little bit more about what that means? Why would someone, especially for an athlete, why would they want to read this book? What can it help them with?
Yeah, I think the bigger than the game concept for me comes from just reminding myself that at the end of the day, it's just a game. Um, no matter how successful you are, like how long you play the game for, there's always going to be an end to it. And at the end of the day, when you're done playing, if you're upset, if you put everything you had into that sport you played, um, and you weren't happy while doing it, I think it can have effects on your life after you're done playing. Finding an identity of who you are when you're done with playing college baseball or whatever sport, or if you have a chance to play professionally. I know guys that they're done and they don't really know what to do. Um, and so I think it's just a good reminder for me to let myself know not to get like consumed by the game and not put every single ounce of my emotion in the game. Just it's a reminder.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a big deal when you're playing because we all have goals playing the game. But at the end of the day, it's a small part of your life, and if you're not happy after, that's the bigger part of your life.
Yeah. So moving forward, and you talk about obviously it's just a game. We all should understand that. I think that's something to really take away from this podcast is that it's really more than a game, bigger than the game. But when you're done with playing the actual game, because you're still playing right now, but what are some things that you want to continue on with your life? What has this experience going through, Tommy John and writing this book? What has that taught you to, how are you going to grow and move forward through the rest of your life?
You know, hopefully I get to play for a long time. That's the end goal, right? But I understand my options are limited. But there's a lot of things. I was talking to someone about this the other day. There's a lot of things I want to do with my life. Whether it be start my own clothing company, based off the book, or I've always wanted to start a coffee brand just because I'm a huge coffee consumer. It's the two complete opposites of baseball, but I also want to start my own mental health foundation. I have no idea how I'm going to do it yet, which, I'm 22, so I don't need to know yet.
Right.
But I just want to do something for athletes, especially college athletes, where I can, help them, make them feel comfortable, with their mental health. And, a foundation or being a counselor at a school or, working at a university in the mental health department. I think those are some things I'm really interested in when I'm older.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's going to be great for you. And, it's always good to help other people. And I want to ask you, how have you seen, being more positive and trying to journal and doing these things? Why is finding the right mental state, especially as an athlete, and obviously it's important throughout your whole life, even if you aren't an athlete, but why is being mentally prepared and mentally engaged important as an athlete?
I think the mentally prepared thing is one of my struggles, and that's why I wrote the book. Because I always would get timid before games. In high school I'd be really ready, and then as soon as the lights turned on, I'd get a little timid. And I never told anyone that, but when I had success, the timidness went away. But when I was struggling, it always was there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think if you play with like that timidness looking over your shoulder, I think it carries onto the field and then it'll carry off. When you leave the field for the day, you're like, oh, I went 0 for 3 or I gave up a 5 spot. You know what I mean? And then you carry that into your life. You carry it into the classroom and your friendships. You take it out on your friends, your parents sometimes, and you don't even realize it. Some people are really good at separating it, but for people like me, I learned it's a lot harder than people think. Um, and so I think if you're able to separate your life from your performance, I think that's when people, can notice some big differences. Um, I just want to let people know I'm not like a mental like coach, telling people like hoorah, like you can do this kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
it's just the reality. If you struggle on the field, a lot of people struggle off the field. But if you're doing really good on the field, a lot of people are happy off the field. You can see it in your teammates too. They get a base knock, they come in, they're hyping up their teammates, and if they strike out looking, they come back in and they don't want to talk to anyone. I've played with people like that. I've done that myself. Everyone has. Um, but I think from a mental standpoint, it's more of like having confidence in yourself, and knowing that like if you have a bad game, like it's okay. It's not going to change like who you are as a person. It won't change your integrity, how you treat people. Um, no one's going to treat you better because you have a lower ERA or you have a higher batting average. You might get some more recognition these days on social media and make a few extra bucks playing the game. But if you don't treat people well and you don't treat yourself well, I think that's the big separator.
Yeah. You've had a lot of great message already throughout this podcast, but I do want to end with
Thank you. I
asking
appreciate
you
it.
a little bit about, if you were to have one single message, and I know you have your bigger than the game quote, but what for the viewers, because obviously it's important for them to learn. That's my goal with this podcast, is to allow them to learn something from the people who I have on. And obviously you have this book, which is great in itself. But for you, what is your one message to the viewers who are tuned in and listening to this?
Definitely. There's a lot of things I would like to say to you guys. Um, but I think the most important thing for me is, outside of baseball, you just have to learn who you are yourself and you have to do what makes you happy. Like, obviously, you have priorities in your life you have to do, right? You got to eat, you got to pay rent, most people have to work a job, to afford the things they want, the lifestyle they want, right? But you also have to include things that make you happy in there. You have to take time out of your day to just do what you want to do, whether it's, a jog in the morning or journaling at night, reading a book you've always wanted to read, going to the beach for an hour, grabbing lunch with somebody. I think it's just making yourself happy first and then pleasing everyone else, right? Because I was always a please everyone else. And if I please everyone else, I'll be really happy. If other people are happy, I'll be happy. But obviously, that wasn't the case. Um, and so I want people to just understand that, like, when you're happy, things become a lot more easier. There's a lot less stress on your life. Um, and everyone's situation is different. Not everyone has a great life, and everyone struggles. And your struggles may not be as hard as someone else. You know, my struggles were I was struggling with baseball, and it ruined my experience. You know, but there's kids out there that are struggling to pay rent. There's kids out there that are playing JUCO ball with no scholarship. People have it a lot worse than me. But you got to realize if you're struggling, that's all that matters, and you got to get help. And if you're not comfortable to get help, there's a ton of different outlets. Um, and I think basically like that. I know it's a long message, and I went on a rant, but
Yeah,
I
you're
think
good.
if you're happy with what you're doing, I think that makes a huge difference with the way you treat people and yourself.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I really thank you so much for joining the podcast and giving an opportunity to share your story. Again, bigger than the game. I got it showing up on the camera. I know you can't see me, but I got it up and I'm going to link it below. Hopefully, you guys learned a lot about Drew. And Drew, keep doing what you're doing. I know you're a big Mike fan, and I really
Definitely.
appreciate you coming on
Shout
the
out,
show.
Mike.
But I was going to say, keep going. And that's a big message. You've had a lot of great messages. But for the viewers out there, feel free to check out Drew's book. And the mental side of the game is really important. I really want to establish that point. And thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Playmakers View. We'll be back with you guys on another episode very soon.